In the heart of Gaydon Mykifi, a small village known for its bustling market, lived Safiya, a middle-aged woman with a reputation for making the best catfish pepper soup. Her shop, a small thatched hut with a wooden counter and steaming pots, was always crowded. The aroma of her soup filled the air, drawing in hungry customers like moths to a flame. What baffled the villagers the most was how Safiya's prices were shockingly cheap despite the rising cost of fish. While other pepper soup sellers struggled to make ends meet, Safiya's business thrived. Many wondered how she managed to get her fish supply when the rivers had been overfished, but no one dared to question her success. Among the struggling sellers was Asabe, a widow with 3 children. She had been selling pepper soup long before Safiya arrived in the village, yet her customers had slowly disappeared. Whenever someone approached her stall, they would complain. "Haba, Asabe, your pepper soup is too expensive. Look at Safiya's. She sells more for less." No matter how much Asabe tried to explain that fish had become scarce and expensive, people always preferred Safiya's soup. She became frustrated, but something in her heart told her there was more to Safiya's success than just good cooking. One afternoon, after another slow day at her stall, Asabe sat under a large tree, fanning herself as she watched Safiya's shop overflowing with customers. Amina, her neighbor's 10-year-old daughter, ran past her, holding a clay pot. "Where are you going in such a hurry?" Asabe asked. "To buy pepper soup for my father. He has been sick since morning," Amina said with a small smile before dashing off. Asabe sighed. She, too, had offered to sell pepper soup on credit to Amina's mother earlier, but she refused, saying they preferred to buy from Safiya. Little did Asabe know, that would be the last time anyone saw Amina alive. That evening, Amina's mother, Hawa, stormed into the market in distress. "Have you seen my daughter? She went to buy pepper soup and hasn't returned," she cried, her voice shaking with fear. People gathered around, murmuring amongst themselves. "Didn't she go to Safiya's shop?" someone asked. Hawa nodded. The villagers rushed to Safiya's shop, but she greeted them with her usual calm smile. "I haven't seen her," Safiya said, shaking her head. "She must have gone somewhere else after leaving here." Hawa burst into tears, wailing as some villagers tried to console her. But Asabe felt uneasy. Something didn't sit right with her. "That girl wouldn't just disappear like that," Asabe muttered to herself. Amina wasn't the first person to go missing in recent months. Others had vanished, mostly travelers and strangers. The village had always blamed wild animals or spirits, but now Asabe had her doubts. That night, she decided to follow Safiya. Asabe waited until midnight before leaving her hut. The village was silent except for the distant sound of crickets. Wrapping her wrapper tightly around her body, she walked barefoot toward the market. She hid in the shadows near Safiya's shop, waiting. Moments later, she saw Safiya slip out of her hut carrying a large woven basket on her head. Asabe followed her from a safe distance as she walked past the village square and into the dark forest. After what felt like an eternity, Safiya arrived at a small clearing. In the dim moonlight, Asabe saw a large wooden hut surrounded by trees. From inside, she heard strange sounds like muffled cries. Her heart pounded. She crept closer and peered through a crack in the wooden wall. What she saw made bile rise in her throat. Inside the hut, hung on a rope, were small pieces of clothing. Some were torn and stained with blood. Among them, her eyes landed on a bright yellow dress. She gasped softly. It was Amina's dress. Asabe stumbled backward, her legs weak with fear. That was when she noticed something even more terrifying, a pile of bones in the corner of the hut. Some were small, as if they belonged to children. On the fire, a large clay pot boiled with thick, reddish-brown soup. She clamped a hand over her mouth, realizing the horrible truth. Safiya was not buying fish. She was turning people into fish and cooking them. Asabe turned to flee, but her foot snapped a dry twig. The sound echoed through the quiet forest. She froze. Inside, the movement stopped. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. Safiya stepped out, her eyes scanning the darkness. "Who is there?" she called, her voice sharp. Asabe held her breath, but then Safiya's eyes landed on her. You should not have come here, Asabe, she said coldly, raising a large knife. Without thinking, Asabe turned and ran. Safiya chased after her, her footsteps pounding the ground behind her. Asabe's lungs burned as she sprinted through the trees, branches scratching at her skin. The village was still far, and she knew if Safiya caught her, she would never be seen again. But Asabe was determined to survive. As she neared the village square, she screamed, "Help! Help! Safiya is a murderer!" Dogs barked. Lights flickered in huts. The chief's guards rushed out with torches and machetes, their faces filled with confusion. Safiya stopped abruptly, realizing she had been exposed. The villagers surrounded her, demanding answers. "What is she saying, Safiya?" one man asked. Asabe, breathless and shaking, pointed a trembling finger at Safiya. "She has been killing people and cooking them. Amina's dress is in her hut. There are bones, human bones." A horrified gasp spread through the crowd. The chief ordered his guards to search Safiya's hut. When they returned, their faces were pale with shock. "It's true," one of them whispered. Women wailed. Men clenched their fists. Hawa collapsed to the ground, sobbing. Safiya, realizing there was no escape, dropped to her knees, laughing eerily. "You all ate them," she whispered. "And you loved every bite." As the villagers recoiled in horror, the chief stepped forward. "Why, Safiya? Why would you do this?" Safiya's eerie laughter turned into a bitter smile. "You all forget so easily. I was once one of you, selling fish like the rest. My children starved while you all ignored my begging. You turned your back against me. When my husband and children were taken by the river spirits when looking for fish we could eat at least, you all called me a witch and a curse. You all let me starve, you let me suffer. I watched my own flesh and blood die when I had a community. That was when I learnt hunger is a greater curse and the strong would always feed on the weak, so I made a deal to be strong too. A deal with the spirits in the dark waters. They gave me prosperity, but they demanded flesh in return. And now, you have all feasted on their curse." A deadly silence fell over the village. "That doesn't justify what you've been doing," someone said from the crowd. "Did you come to me and I didn't give you?" a lady from the crowd asked. Safiya looked at her direction and muttered with a laugh, "Oh, you hypocrite." The chief's voice was grim as he interrupted the loud murmurs from the villagers. Let her suffer the same fate as those she killed, would appease the spirit afterwards. Yes, most of the villagers agreed in unison. That night, Safiya was boiled alive in the same pot she had used to cook her victims. And as the flames crackled under the pot, the villagers stood watching, haunted by the taste of her soup, a taste they would never forget. I hope you didn't just enjoy this story but learnt something from it. I'll love to read it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Your support means a lot to me.